Hello, welcome to a new series on the Comp YouTube channel. We're calling the series Accompany because we're talking about Comp members who are accompanying artists. And the first artist we're going to talk about is the Allman Brothers. This is Cindy Brown, I'm Tim Griggs, and Cindy is going to tell you a little about the Allman Brothers.
Well, you probably already know a lot about the Allman Brothers, but they came to Macon in 1969. Right here to Macon, in fact, right here into this building, following Phil Walden to Capricorn Records, and they became a world phenomenon.
They did. So I said this is a series about Comp members playing with the Allman Brothers. We're going to do other artists that Comp members have played with in the future. So what is Comp? Comp, C-O-M-P, stands for the Community of Older Music Professionals. And that's just what we are. We are an organization, a 501c3 organization, whose mission is to serve, showcase, and celebrate our members, which are music people 55 years and older. The first snippet we're going to watch is of Rick Burnett. Rick Burnett played with a group called GrinderSwitch, which opened up for the Allman Brothers back in the 70s. The first video is Ricky talking about one of the drummers for the Allman Brothers didn't show up for a particular show, and GrinderSwitch was opening for the show. And so he had to sit in. So the cast of characters for this video, and I'm going to read this, are Rick Burnett of GrinderSwitch, Joe Dan Petty, also of GrinderSwitch, Chuck Leavell, keyboard player for the Allman Brothers, Dickey Betts, guitar player for the Allman Brothers, Gregg Allman, keyboard and vocalist for the Allman Brothers, and Jaimoe, the other drummer, and plus Butch Trucks does show up. So here we go with the first snippet.
Joe Dan had been over talking with the brothers, Dickey and all. He came in, he goes, "Hey, look, Butch isn't here. And Chuck and Dickey want to know if you'll play with them tonight." And I went, "No." And he went, "What do you mean?" I said, "No, I don't want to do that. I don't know this stuff well enough." He goes, "Look, at least go over and talk to him." I said, "Well, okay." So I headed over to the dressing room. Right before I got to the door, it opened, and out comes Chuck and Dickey, and they both, "Hey, man, you going to come play with us?" And I went, "Yeah, I guess I am." You know? Anyway, I went up, sat down, and played, and I'm sitting there looking around at all these people going, "Oh, my God." And this is Butch's kid, not my kid.
Right.
I was playing his drum.
Yeah.
I was going, "Shit." And anyway, Greg looked over, and he goes, "Just follow Jaimoe." I said, "Yeah, that's the plan, you know." So it was just like Statesboro Blues, just pretty much, and which I knew the song.
Sure, yeah.
And it was just a shuffle. I didn't have any problem doing that.
Yeah.
So I played that, and I'm sitting there looking at all these people, and all of a sudden I get this, somebody gooses me in the ribs.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, "Shit, man, who the hell would do that in front of all these people?" And I turned around, it was Butch.
Oh,
And I
okay.
went, "Oh, man." And I turned around, I went, "Gee, I'm so glad to see you. I didn't want to get into all this." He goes, "That's cool, man. You did good."
Yeah.
So I walked over to the side of the stage, and Joe Dan was there. He goes, Dickey was turning around trying to shake your hand. And I said, "I'm sorry, I didn't know it. I didn't see him. You know, I turned around because of Butch, you know."
Yeah.
But, yeah, I did. That was fun, though. My
I'm
claim to fame. But, I mean, we did a gig in Lakeland, where I'm pretty much from, you know.
Right.
So my family was all there, and a lot of time with the brothers or Marshall Tucker, we would jam, or with Charlie Daniels, we would jam.
Right. Yeah.
Like we'd play, and then they'd play their whole set, and then they'd have a jam for the last half hour or more of the show. So that night in Lakeland, I went out and played with them too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm noticing you're wearing the same shirt today that you were wearing when...
It'll be a recurring theme throughout these videos because it's the only shirt I have. So. But this video, we're talking with
Phil Palma.
Dan.
And here's something Phil won't tell you, but it's really interesting. When he was in high school, his band attended a battle of the bands up there in New Jersey, where he's from. They won, and the next runner-up came over to shake his hand and tell him what a great job they did, and it was John Bon Jovi.
Wow. So in this, we got a couple of segments with Phil Palma coming up. And in the very first one, he's talking about Joe Dan Petty, who Rick Burnett was talking about in the very last segment.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Dan Petty, at this point, was a bootmaker when Phil worked with him. And he'll explain it further. Cast of characters during these two vignettes of Phil Palma, Joe Dan Petty, Gregg Allman, Warren Haynes, and Dickey Betts. So here's Phil Palma.
So we're in here making boots, and Joe Dan gets a phone call, and I'm over here doing my little making my little boots, doing my little sewing machine, doing all that stuff, you know. Yeah. And I can hear him with my ear. He's talking to somebody about some Allman Brothers stuff, and it ain't a buddy. I can tell it's business going on. And he gets off the phone, and he said, "Man, that was Bert Holman." He said, "Yeah." He said Dickey called him and said that these Macon shows, they're already getting bombarded with people begging to open. They're saying they'll do it for free, and there weren't no Bobo bands. These, you know, heavy hitters.
Yeah.
You know. And Dickey said, "No, we got to open an act. The Lifters are going to open." And he hired us for 4 nights. He paid us and everything.
Wow.
I mean, gave us that opportunity, which was incredible. So the third night we're playing, and right toward the end, crowd makes some noise. I look over, Warren Haynes came out and sat in with us. I can't even remember which song it was that night. The next night was New Year's Eve, so we're out there playing. At one point, Warren walks out. The auditorium goes crazy, and I'm up there playing. I'm half nervous, but I'm just so enjoying it. So we're playing this Eddie Floyd song, Knock on Wood, and I'm about halfway through it, and I'm singing my little heart out. And all the crowd just goes berserkowitz right in front of me, man. I was looking out there, big wide-eyed, and I was thinking to myself, I am singing the shit out of this. I turned back around, I was like, yeah. Oh, I looked over there, and Gregg had walked out and sat behind the P3, and that's why they lost their mind. Yeah. And so we finished that song, and I was just like, okay, ground yourself. This is huge for me.
Yeah.
And I'm still standing center stage, and Warren's over there, and Gregg's over there, and the crowd's going berserk. And I just kind of convinced myself I have confidence, you know, and I have like quiet cockiness that I own, but I don't really let it out a lot. And I kind of tapped into some of that just to keep my cool, just to make sure if we finished that first song, first thing I hear is Gregg hollering, which I knew them, so I knew his voice, and I knew he was calling me. Hey, Phil. I turned around, I was like, yeah, man. He goes, didn't you do Tell It Like It Is last night? I said, yeah. He goes, let's do that. Me and you will swap vocals. And dang, if we didn't do it. He was singing the way he did it when he did it with Bonnie Raitt and Aaron Neville. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
It was right after that, soon after, about a year or so after that, I think, because that's why he called that song, because he knew it so well. You know? And then all the other songs, we were just singing our Lifter songs, and he was just diving vocal extras, just making stuff up and throwing it in there. We were just like.
All right. You also played at the wedding of Dickey Betts' daughter. Tell us about this situation.
We're having a Lifters rehearsal. Joe Dan walks in the door, and he's all smiling, being silly Joe Dan when he had good news like he did. And he's flipping this piece of paper, and he walked in. We all kind of like, what the hell's going on? What are you doing? Yeah. He's like, Dickey called me. He said, you know, his daughter's getting married. And we were like, okay, we didn't know that, you know. Yeah, they're going to be married in so-and-so, and the wedding is going to be in so-and-so. He said, Dickey just hired us to come play the wedding. And then he said, he's going to pay us this much money. And we were all like, what? We didn't think he'd pay us that much. He paid for the rooms and everything. So we're getting closer to the conversation. And he's the whole time he's talking, he's just flipping this paper, just making sure you know he's got a paper in his hand kind of thing, you know. And all of a sudden, I was like, so what you got in your hand there, man? He goes, oh, this is a list of songs Dickey Betts said if we work them up, he'll do the set with us at the wedding.
Oh, cool.
And there was like 8 songs, all Allman Brothers stuff.
Yeah.
Blown away. So we bring him a Les Paul and a little amp to play Jody Petty's Les Paul, actually.
Okay.
And so we get there, and we're making a little sound check and everything. And he's smiling, and he's in good spirits and everything. And he's digging, and we're jamming with him and stuff. And he turns around out of the blue and just whoops his head to me, and he goes, you know 7 terms? And I said, yeah. He goes, can you do Gregg's part? And I said, yeah. He goes, me and you gonna do it together acoustically.
Cool. Acoustically.
And I was just like, okay,
Yeah.
that sounds good. And sure enough, man, came time for that part, and Dickey did a little talk for his daughter and her husband, and I'm over here getting the guitar, shake my dang britches, you know. But as soon as we started playing it, man, it just started doing what music does, you know.
Very cool.
Yeah, extremely. I was blessed. I'm so blessed at all these Allman Brother things. This Jersey kid stood there so many times and said, what am I doing here?
Oh, I understand.
I know some people in Macon that would give an arm to be where I'm at.
Yes.
You know, sitting at Dickey's table and he brings a guitar. Try this thing out.
Yeah.
And I'm over here playing his guitar and I'm in my kind of like trying to be normal mode. And I got where I was with those guys after a minute. But boy, that first couple times I had to shake it, you know.
Yeah, I would be too.
Yeah, you can feel it.
That Phil, he's something.
He is. He's a lot of fun.
If you want to see the full video, go here.
Our next video is several stories, and this covers Gregg and Duane Allman before they were in the Allman Brothers Band. They were in a group called the Hourglass with Johnny Sandlin, Pete Carr, and Paul Hornsby. So this is an interview with Paul Hornsby talking about the Hourglass days back in the 60s, and he'll talk about some other subjects, moving to Macon and working with Chuck Leavell. And so here is my interview with Paul Hornsby. Yes.
But I just want to interject. Paul wrote it in his book, and he'll tell you anytime you talk to him that he was playing with the Southern Rock Band before Southern Rock had a name when they were Hourglass. Yeah. And he'll tell you he is responsible for bringing Chuck Leavell to Macon. And we know that Chuck Leavell went on to play with the Allman Brothers and has been the keyboardist with the Rolling Stones, plus their music director for what, 40 years?
Yes.
So I love that about Paul. He takes credit for Chuck and for Southern Rock.
Well, okay, that's fine with me. So here's me interviewing Paul Hornsby. And by the way, it looks like I'm wearing the same shirt in this interview, but it's not the same shirt this time. So here's Paul Hornsby.
Sure, it's nothing right.
I want to go back to your Hourglass days. You guys basically moved to Los Angeles, Hollywood.
We were the first Southern Rock band. We didn't know it at the time.
Right.
And it wasn't called Southern Rock.
No.
Thinking back, the style of music we were playing is what you hear locally in Macon and what was kind of invented here.
Right.
And the music we've been on the West Coast that was being played was the Beach Boys and Jan and Dean. In fact, the producer, Dallas Smith, that we wound up working with out there, he produced Jan and Dean's stuff. So,
oh, okay.
Which, you know, you can imagine that's miles away from
Exactly.
Southern Rock. Yeah.
But you were a young man from Alabama.
In Bulletproof.
In Hollywood.
I mean,
so what was your mindset being there in...
It's like, golly, you know, look, there's, and there's, you know, everywhere you look, there's movie stars. And
Exactly.
The first week we were in L.A., I think maybe the second week, we played a big party at the Beverly Hilton Hotel for
Sure.
Danny Thomas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of the St. Jude Hospital.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you're older than dirt like me, you'd know who Danny Thomas was. And every major movie star that had a TV series in L.A. was in attendance. They were all there.
Speaking of that, and I'll show the picture on the screen, but here's a picture of you and Gregg Allman with part of the cast of Lost in Space.
They patronized our band. They came, a lot of the cast, especially Angela Cartwright, Bill Mooney. They came to a lot of our gigs. They came to the Whiskey A Go-Go. And,
okay.
And we played a private Halloween party for June Lockhart, who was the matron on the show. And she was just like family. She was like my mother.
Really?
And she said, we'll have to get you all out to the set. Would you all like to come out and watch us film sometime? And I mean, you don't have to twist my arm. I said, yeah, absolutely. She said, well, I'll call you. And I thought I'd never hear any more from her. So
Yeah.
one morning about 6 o'clock, phone rang, and I get real cranky when I get woke up, and I yelled into the phone, "This better be blinking good." And there was this little feminine voice that said, "Pa, this is June Lockhart." Hey, June. Says, "Wonder if you guys would like to come out to the set today?" And I said, "We sure would." I said, "Let me get busy and collect everybody." And she told us how to get there and everything. So that was a big honor for us.
Yeah. Well, it looks here in this picture that you and Angela are kind of sharing a moment here.
I wish.
Okay.
But she was only 14.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Oh my gosh.
And I was a little older than that.
Yeah. You've got. Who do you think you look like in this picture?
That was my Sonny Bono.
Exactly. I was going to say Sonny
He
Bono.
should have been proud, right?
Yeah. Well, Sonny Bono had a lot of success as a producer and stuff. And by the way, I don't know if we mentioned it, the band that Paul played with was the Hourglass, with Duane and Gregg Allman and Pete Carr and Johnny Sandler.
Yep.
The last incarnation of the Hourglass, it's amazing how successful all of you guys were.
All of us were lucky enough to keep a foothold in the business. Johnny Sandler,
Right.
Pete Carr, myself.
Back to the Hourglass in Los Angeles. You guys were playing on the same bill with The Doors, Jefferson Airplane,
Yep.
Grateful Dead.
Buffalo Springfield was
Buffalo
a band that we
Springfield.
loved. We were chummy with those guys, and we played lots of dates with them. And in fact, Steve Stills and Neil Young wrote the liner notes for one of our albums.
But did you realize that you were working and surrounded with all this?
Very aware of it. In fact, we expected to be in their shoes at any moment,
Yeah.
which never happened because we didn't have a hit record.
Yeah.
They kept trying to make Jan and Dean out of us and tried to make Gary Puckett and the Union Gap out of Gregg, and so
Okay.
it was a different direction than we had in mind. Yeah.
After that kind of fell apart, you came here to Macon, Georgia. And
A
you-
roundabout way. As a matter of fact, I moved back, actually, practically the day I got back from L.A. and Hourglass broke up, I moved back to Tuscaloosa. Tuscaloosa is like Macon is now, is a guitar player on every corner and still are. And so I kind of picked up the remnants of a local band that played at a bar there in Tuscaloosa and called the South Camp. And then I added a few other players to it, and there was a pretty hot piano player in town at the time, several years younger than me. And I was kind of the old man then. Anyway, he had just come out of the 11th grade and was about to go into the 12th. And it was Chuck Leavell.
Oh, yeah.
And what's funny, he was very promising for as young as he was. He was only like 16. And he was showing signs of being a genius then. And another player we added was Charlie Hayward,
Sure.
who later played bass with Charlie Daniels.
Yeah.
To the end of their thing, actually.
Yeah. And you're the one who basically got him in Charlie Daniels' band.
Yeah,
Right?
that's another story.
Okay.
So anyway, there was Chuck, and then I forgot where I'm going with this. Well, I'll just take off and. So we're playing. We got the South Camp playing. We're playing in a club regularly, and we're playing fraternity parties, and that's where the money was in the South back then. And Duane moved on to Muscle Shoals and was doing session work.
Right.
So early in the spring of '69, about 9 months after the Hourglass broke up, he called me. I was in Tuscaloosa, and he said, "Paul, how about coming up? Would you be interested in coming up and playing on some demos with me?" He said, "Atlantic has heard some of my guitar work, and they're interested in maybe signing me as an artist. They want to see what I can do, and they want me to sing." And he said, "I'm nervous about that, but," he said, I'll try anything." So anyway, I drove up to Muscle Shoals, and I was there about 2 or 3 days. I was offered three jobs in that 3 days I was there. First, Rick Hall offered me a job playing as a piano player in the Fame studio. Anyway, Phil Walden was there. I think he was just making a deal with Rick Hall
To get Duane?
To get Duane.
Yeah.
And Phil says he was trying to really put the Hourglass Band together, essentially. He wanted Johnny Sandlin and myself and Pete Carr to play, and with Duane, and they were yet to see what we were going to come up with, see what Duane could do in the studio as an artist. And we weren't, Sandlin and I and Pete, we weren't interested because we had just gone through beating our head against the wall in L.A. and we just got back to the South and just starting to eat regular again, and we had been through some lean, skinny days out there.
Yeah.
So a couple of months, I pulled my trailer, my band trailer, with my meager belongings, and my wife at the time and I, 4th of July found us in Macon, as Maconites, and that was 1969. I've been here ever since. And one side note, I mentioned Chuck Leavell, and we were here a few months, and boy, things started looking up, and I called Chuck, and by this time he's in the 12th grade in high school, and I said, Chuck, you might want to consider moving over here. Things, you can get in on the ground floor. I think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I had this feeling.
Now, he would have been in competition with you on the keys, though, wouldn't he?
Well, maybe, but I was still playing a lot of guitar at that time. So once I got established in the studio, I just let the guitar playing go to Pete Carr. I mean, he did a better job than I did.
Yeah.
So I honed in on piano playing. And finally, after I produced a band called Marshall Tucker Band, it was a giant hit, the first record, and I was suddenly known as a Capricorn producer, record producer.
Did you want to produce? How did you?
Actually, I didn't know I never gave a thought to being a record producer.
Okay.
Now, Johnny Sandlin, on the other hand, he'd always wanted to be a record producer.
Okay.
And so it just sort of by accident fell in my lap.
Yeah.
Johnny produced some demos on Marshall Tucker, and nothing came of that. And so Phil handed me the project. He said, Hornsby, you take them in there and see what you can do.
Yeah.
I always loved a good challenge.
Yeah.
And so I took them in there and spent 2 months, day and night, and came out with an album entitled the Marshall Tucker Band. We had Can't You See and Take the Highway and a few other memorable tunes.
Absolutely. All right. I'm going to reach into the magic Razzie Bailey bag. Did you ever work with Razzie?
Never did, no.
Okay. I actually played drums with him a couple times at Nashville South.
Oh, you got an oldie there. All right.
Yeah, and I'm guessing this was pre-Marshall. Was this the first thing you produced?
First thing I ever produced.
Yeah.
And it's a very forgettable album. But
I was going to ask you, when is the last time you listened to this?
Probably 50 years ago.
Okay.
Anyway, there's some great players on. In fact, Chuck Leavell's on there.
Chuck is on here, yeah. Let's talk about Muscadine here. Your studio, you've had it for 40-something years.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of vintage stuff.
You got to have somewhere to keep it.
Well, that's right. I mean, right over your right shoulder here is a Leslie speaker that you used in the Hourglass days.
Yes, Gregg and I both. We in the Hourglass lineup, instrument-wise, we had a Hammond organ, and we piped it through that Leslie speaker. And next to it, we had a Wurlitzer electric piano, side by side. Now today's keyboard players, Rusty knows what I'm talking about. Most of them, when they have more than one keyboard, they stack them up.
Yeah.
Well, there was two of us, so we just put them side by side, and we trade off. I'd play organ on some tunes, and I'd play piano on some tunes, and vice versa, and also play guitar in the Hourglass. We were just jumping around on different instruments, and on stage. So that Leslie I bought new in 1966, and it's still used nearly every day in sessions here, still cranking on.
And you have Gregg's Wurlitzer.
Got Gregg's Wurlitzer electric piano, and I bought that from him in 1974, I think it was.
Okay.
He said, man, you want this thing, I'll let you have it. He says, I used it on 2 songs on the Fillmore Live album. He said, I've never used it anymore, and I've hauled it around on a few gigs, and it's more trouble than it's worth. And he said, I'll let you have it. So I jumped at it. And,
Yeah.
so we used it a while at Capricorn Studio, and I had it in my house for a while, and and its home is down here now.
Yeah, and you just showed me a picture of Gregg sitting at the keyboard, and there's a beer can on it.
Yeah, and the picture I found on the internet, Gregg is playing this thing, and there's a Budweiser can sitting right there. And I got to counting the screw holes on the top of the cover for the piano, and at the fifth screw hole, the beer can is sitting right in front of it. And I went out and looked at I thought, I wonder. And I went out and looked at the piano top, and in the fifth screw hole, there's a ring where the beer can had been sitting.
Yeah.
It was the one from that picture prior to 1974,
Yeah.
and it's still on there today.
Yeah. I've got the Laid Back album in here, and I think that's it, all that's in the Magic Razzie bag.
Let me see that. Let me see the Laid Back album. I think I played on one or two songs. Anyway, I'm right here. You know if the camera picked that up, but I was playing clavinet.
Oh yeah.
And when this thing first came out, whoever wrote the liner notes put down that I played clarinet. I think later on they changed that.
Yeah.
I'd have to take time to.
All right, one more story.
All right.
An album you recorded with Chuck Leavell here, and an audio magazine praised it highly. Tell me that story.
He recorded about 25 years back. He recorded one of his very first solo records, and it's just solo piano, and it's just a joy. I enjoyed working on that record with Chuck, and so it's called Forever Blue. And so sometime after that record came out, phone rang one day, and it was a writer for some audiophile magazine. I don't even remember what it was. So anyway, the guy wanted to know, he said, would you mind talking to me and tell me some of your recording secrets, what your miking techniques you used on the piano? He said, but first of all, he says, that's my all-time favorite piano record. He says, every time a CD is submitted with its piano playing, I pull that record out as a benchmark to what a piano record should sound like. And of course, my head's swelling now, because I engineered it. So he was wanting to know, after that build-up, he says, what kind of mics were you using? How did you position them in the piano? And with that build-up, I just could not tell him that I used 3 Shure microphones, like $100 microphones.
SM57s?
SM57
Yeah.
was what had become, and still, my choice for recording grand piano in stereo.
Yeah.
And so, I was coming up with ideas. I was tap dancing. I said, well, we use a condenser mic here, and we use a U47 aimed over the right shoulder,
Yeah.
and U87's pointing towards the wall where we get the reflection, And then again, if we do a ballad, then we change it around. We put an AKG down it. I could just see this guy scratching his head,
Yeah.
But I was tap dancing, and I never admitted that I used 3
SM57s.
$100 microphone on this grand piano.
I love that story.
Okay, that Paul has some great stories. One thing he didn't mention was that when Hourglass was living in LA, they stayed in the attic of the big house where the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band lived.
Yes, they were actually kind of discovered by the manager of the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and so there was that affiliation. So what are we doing next?
Oh my gosh, next we're going to hear from 3 of the nicest guys you've ever met. Wait, didn't you play with the Allman Brothers at one point?
Well, I played with some of the Allman Brothers, and in this video, I'm with my friends Rusty and Tom, who I've known for 50 years, and we've got a couple of different stories about our interminglings with members of the Allman Brothers. So here we go. On this side, we have Rusty Smith, and on this side, we have Tom Wilson, and I'm Tim Griggs. And by the way, we all played together 50 years ago in a band. And so
legendary band.
We're going to start off.
Very legendary.
We're going to start off with Rusty.
Well, it's a quick story. We used to do a little trio, Tim and a guy named Sid Cherry.
All comp members, by the way.
All comp members, exactly. We did a thing for the city of Macon that Buck Melton had put together, and during that show, it was, like I said, it was a trio, and
Sid played keys, I played guitar, and Tim was the drummer. We were playing, and there was a lot of people at this little outing. It was I believe it was at the Hay House. And Chuck Leavell and his wife walked in, and during the night, he got up and played a song or two with us. I remember one song was the song Georgia. And that's, I think he played another song. We jammed on another song. But I can tell you this. It was the first time I ever had a chance to play with someone of that caliber. And Chuck Leavell is one amazing keyboardist.
What's your story?
Well, back when I was a young man in high school, I was a proud member of the Central High School Sugar Bear Band. I was a member of the jazz band. And Tim, were you in the?
I was in.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in.
Tim was our jazz drummer. Anyway, we were playing at I think it was a YMCA.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we were doing a benefit thing for elementary school students. And of course, I don't know if it was planned or not, but Chuck Leavell came up. Now, here's the thing about keyboard players. I've been on stage with, well, I haven't been on stage with Chuck twice. I have played with Chuck twice, but ironically, the Allman Brothers are the exception to this rule. Most bands don't have two keyboard players. So when Chuck was there, I got off and, willingly acquiesced to him. So we didn't play together, but my first experience was when, he was announced and came up, and he played with the jazz band. And I, got to speak with him, things like that. The other time, I used to be a member of local band, the Grapevine, and we were playing at the Isle Hour Country Club, and I believe he and his wife were on. Or I know his wife played tennis, and they were there for this big tennis event. And he came up, and we asked him. I think I said something on the mic. Would you come? And he got on up, and he said, "What do y'all want to do?" And I said, "How about Hold On, I'm Coming?" He said, "That sounds great." And I think I was playing probably a Yamaha DX7 at the time, and then he came up and played. So that's my two. I didn't play with him, but because there's usually only one keyboard player, I got off the stage.
Then what are you doing here? Jeez.
Because I have a better story than that.
Okay, all right, but going back to when we were in high school, the stage band.
Yes.
I remember. I think you were playing a Fender Rhodes at the time, and
yes,
you had the score, the
oh yeah,
the sheet music, and he just brushed it off. Is that right?
Yes. We had the chord charts. We were supposed to be learning something, and luckily Bob Burnett was teaching us some good stuff.
Yeah.
So there was the chord chart, and we walked up, and I said, "We're doing this," and I was kind of in awe. I said, "We're doing this." He goes, "That doesn't mean anything to me." And then he said, "Y'all start." The story. I do remember one thing that happened. Another comp member, Ricky Sorrells, was playing guitar with the jazz band at that time. And he got up there, and Ricky, this was a little thing that I'll never forget. Ricky and I that was when Win, Lose, or Draw was out. And Ricky and I loved High Falls. And Chuck got up there, and Ricky went, da 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 da. And Chuck went, da 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 da, which is the signature lick in that. Yeah. And then that, I just got chills thinking about it. Good stuff. Yeah.
But you also played with Jaimoe.
Oh yes, that's right. Played with Jaimoe. Now this was like surreal. I was with a group. I don't even remember the name of it. I remember Randy Roman was playing sax. I believe at the time Steve Chanin had been playing, and then he did not. He had to sit out, and we were playing at a dinner club. Dance ballroom thing, a retro thing they were trying to get started in Warner Robins. So it was a thing where they would serve dinner, we would play, and I was 18, 19, 20 years old, first couple of years of college. And Jaimoe came in, they asked Jaimoe, and he came in and played big band swing, ballroom music with us for 3 months. And then, as a matter of fact, he left, and before we had somebody else to come in, Mr. Griggs came in and played ballroom dinner club music as well for a gig or two.
Yeah, yeah. I remember someplace in Warner Robins that we played,
yeah.
and I remember Randy Roman because he worked at Capricorn Records, but I don't remember who played bass or.
I don't remember who played bass either.
Yeah, Jaimoe and I go back before that because Jaimoe gave me drum lessons when I was 16 years old. One day we had just gotten back from band camp. It'll be 50 years next month, and I got that big black set of pearl drums.
Yeah.
That was waiting for me when I came back from
wow.
band camp.
Good stuff.
And so me and my brother were down in the basement jamming. My brother plays guitar, and there was a knock on the back door. And so I answer the back door, and it's Jaimoe from the Allman Brothers Band. My next door neighbor was his chiropractor. And so after that, Jaimoe gave me a few drum lessons. And last week was his birthday. I texted him last week, and I've known him for 50 years as of next month. And Chuck, we're in Capricorn Studios right now. Chuck was just here yesterday doing an interview for the BBC. Do you have any other stories?
I do. How I first met Chuck was my wife used to cut his wife's hair, and I knew her, but somehow or another I was an aspiring journalist and writer for the college newspaper, now Middle Georgia State University, was Macon Junior at the time, and I was I just said, well, wouldn't it be great to interview Chuck Leavell? And somebody said, oh, I know his wife, and so somebody called me and they said, look, if you go downtown, now I was 19, so this was 79, 80, something like that. Sea level was going pretty good at that point. And they said, if you go to the shop downtown and it on 2nd Street, it's boarded up. It looks like it's boarded up, but you go and you knock on that, and it ended up being Roseanne Leavell's place. I think it was Cornucopia was the title of it, name of it. And so I just shut this 19-year-old kid, and I knock on the plywood, and opens the door, and there's Chuck Leavell, and he is in there renovating this. Oh, and this is back before downtown was nice. Now this downtown was not a great. It didn't have all the renovations that had been run down, hadn't been put up, and he was in there. He was doing this. He had sheetrock all over him, paint all over him. It was like it wasn't what I was expecting. And so anyway, he said, yeah, I'm doing this for my wife. And he said, you want to ask me some questions? I said, yeah, thank you for me. And he was just so nice. And so I basically asked him everything that a journalist / fan would ask anybody who's also an aspiring keyboardist. And we were talking, went through the whole thing. He gave me this great interview. And then I said, well, I said, Chuck, it's nice to meet you. I have to tell you, I'm a little surprised that, you would be doing this. I mean, it's great that you've got these skills. He said, well, things are not always what they seem. And there was all kind of throw sheets everywhere, paint things and tarps. Anyway, in the middle of the room, he walked up and he got this tarp and he threw it over, and there's an upright piano there. And he sat in the middle of there and he played for me for about 10 or 15 minutes.
Cool.
Just going over that, and that was that. And one more thing about it, and that was so long ago. I also appraised. I'm a real estate appraiser. I appraised his property. I had gone to his house a couple of times to do the appraisal. One time he was not there. Rose Lane, his wife, was there. I was going through the house. She said, "Oh, let me show you something." And there was this room. He had one room where he had all of his awards and things like that. And this was in the 1990s. He had all in early 2000s, and he had all picture of the Rolling Stones and all these memorabilia and that sort of thing. And she said, look, and right next to when he was on the cover of the Rolling Stone was my article from the Macon Junior newspaper, framed. She said, he still keeps that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great
There we go.
story.
There's the chills again.
Woo!
Anyway, great guy. Great guy.
All right. And I'm going to add one more thing. When we were in high school, Tommy and me, the Allman Brothers donated timpanis to our high school. And Butch Trucks brought the timpanis by the high school. And I ended up in my later, in the 11th and 12th grade, playing those timpanis that Butch Trucks donated to the Central High Sugar Bear Symphonic Band.
Gosh, one of my favorite stories out of all the videos that you've done is Chuck Leavell saving Tommy's article from back in the day.
That one makes me cry.
Yes.
It is a great story. And also during that segment, I mentioned my brother. My brother's name is Larry, and he played in an Allman Brothers tribute group for a while. And a few years ago, he gave me a call and asked me if I would give him Jaimoe's phone number, because I've known Jaimoe for so long. And I said, no, but I'll give you his email address. The thing he wanted, Jaimoe was going to be in Atlanta doing a show at a variety playhouse. And my brother's band that night was playing at a place called Northside Tavern. So my brother wanted to check to see if Jaimoe would come and play with them in the Allman Brothers tribute group. By the way, the name of the group is Tribute. So I gave him an email address where he could reach Jaimoe. He never did. He never emailed Jaimoe or anything. But that night, my brother's band is playing at Northside Tavern, and who shows up but Jaimoe? I don't know how he found out about my brother's show, but he showed up and he played with my brother's band that night.
Wow.
So the next video is what?
Oh, we're going to talk about some boys from Warner Robins, Georgia, Stillwater.
And they recorded a couple of albums for Capricorn Records. We're in Capricorn Studios, above the studio. They recorded here, and they're just the best guys in the world. So here I'm interviewing the guys in Stillwater.
Like volunteer jam, there'd be jams going on
That's right.
everywhere.
That's
So,
volunteer jam. There was
you
a
just
jam.
stepped up and jammed.
Yeah.
Did you get up and play that
Yeah, I
time
jammed.
in the ballroom?
I think so.
Yeah, that's where I remember that. I remember jamming with them there.
I think
Boy,
Gregg used your guitar, didn't he?
Yeah.
Back,
I mean,
Yeah.
it would be like Allman Brothers,
Greg,
Marshall
yeah,
Tucker,
played that.
a mixture
but
of
not right,
whoever,
I think, wasn't it?
I think you're
whoever
right.
stepped up and wanted to play.
Yeah, Lakeside.
I just remember Greg getting up and jamming at Lakeside and grabbing my guitar and then saying, blues in F, And so frequently, that, rock and roll guitar players are playing A and G and D, all the sharp keys.
Yeah.
He pulls up a piano key.
Gregg came out one night. I'll tell you a quick story. Me and Bobby bought Marshall amps.
Oh,
Big
yeah.
one.
Wasn't it a white?
100-watt Marshalls. And Bobby had a white one. I just had a regular one. But Gregg came up. We were at Uncle Sam's, and he wanted to sit in. I think he got your guitar. I can't remember, but he went up there, and on top of the Marshall was a screen where the tubes were at.
Sure.
Yeah, the
Kind of
vent,
let the
heat.
hot air out. Well, he dropped a Jack and Coke down my amp.
Oh, yeah.
And I was sitting there I went, oh,
About to throw up.
I about to throw up. And I went up there, and the funny thing was when he knocked his drink over, the amp was right here, and he kind of did this deal. Kind of reached up to kind of cut it off because I think he was scared he was going to get electrocuted.
Yeah.
And,
it looked good.
And I walked up to him. I think he said, hey man, if you
I got a
have
whole
any
warehouse
problems,
full.
just call me and I'll get you a new amp.
I got a whole
And I'm
warehouse
thinking,
full.
yeah, I, of course, dumbass me didn't get his phone number, but
Yeah.
he Billy and them went the next day and cleaned it up. It was fine. But I remember sitting there going, oh no,
Yeah.
because we borrowed a lot of money to buy those amps. And all
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
But he played with us a few times, and we got to play with Dickey. I got to play with Dickey at Lakeside. Did you play too?
Yeah, well, actually, I didn't get to play. I don't think with
Solo?
Dickey.
Yeah.
Nah.
I got solo
Not
with
until
it.
not until the volunteer jam.
Yep. But Bobby Whitlock came out and played with us.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
And that's when I
yeah.
think those pictures were made.
Okay, you know, Stillwater has something very special going on because they've been friends since they were kids.
Yeah.
They're still friends to this day. They still perform together, not enough to oversaturate the market, but they still perform because they love their fans and they want fans to have an opportunity to come out and see them.
And you've written about Stillwater and many of the other people we're featuring on this video, comp members. Tell us about your website.
Oh, sure. So I sat out on my porch in Pinehurst, Georgia, and I write about making music history and luckily get to meet these people, spend time with them, begin to feel like family. Because I do it on my porch, I named my website porchlightlit.com
Okay.
and always putting something fresh out.
Porchlightlit.com.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. And you've written about this next fellow we got coming up. So
I absolutely have. What a sweetheart. What a dear, dear man who has a great history in Macon, starting from the time he was 17 years old. Getting a call to come down to Grant's Lounge and play with Ed Grant Jr.
yep. So here's John Stanley Kelling.
I don't know if it was the first night that we played at Grant's in 1972 that this happened. Ed Grant got us up there and we were playing, and he was playing keyboard, Ed Jr. Then all of a sudden, Mr. Grant Sr. got on the intercom and said, ladies and gentlemen, we have somebody special in the house tonight that would like to get up and join in with the boys in the band. I was 17. All of a sudden, a guy with long blonde hair, walking like he was a rock star. It didn't hit me at first, you know, that was the Gregg approaching the stage, but it was. He walked up to our guitar player. He didn't want to play keyboard that night. He walked up to our guitar player. He said, man, can I play your guitar? And, sure. So he picked up the guitar and he said, let's do Crossroads. Everybody knows Crossroads. That's a 1-4-5, man. Everything was going really, really well. For a second song, he said, let's do Jelly Jelly. Let's do Jelly Jelly now. And we said, Mr. Allman, God, sir, if we may, we don't know that song. He said, it was on their album coming out, but it hadn't come out yet. It was about to. So he said, well, just do let's just do Storm and Monday without the fast part in the middle. And we did, while he sang his ass off. Crowd was just going crazy. It was just, back in those days, man, it was magic.
And keep in mind, all the people that are being interviewed here are members of Comp.
yes. And how do they find out what comp is?
Tim, they just go to this link right here.
There you go. So in our last little video, we're talking with Willie Perkins. And Willie Perkins was the road manager for the Allman Brothers back in the day. So the first video we featured, Rick Burnett actually playing with the Allman Brothers. All the rest of the videos, people are just jamming or in situations where playing with members of the Allman Brothers. And in this video, Willie talks about actually performing with the Allman Brothers on stage. And this is the original 6 with Duane and Barry and so. So this is Willie Perkins talking about playing with the Allman Brothers Band.
You never learned to play any musical instruments.
I never did. I played jukebox. I used to kid people. But
Did you ever get on stage with the brothers and sing backup or play a tambourine?
I actually did sing backup one time at Tulane University. We played a fraternity show there, but it was in a big hall, and the kids were crying out for top 40, Vanilla Fudge,
okay.
You Keep Me Hanging On, a lot of stuff. And the band kind of, as a joke, started playing, and me, as a joke, in the wings, I was singing along with them. And of course, the audience thought we were reacting to them. Well, we were reacting, but it was kind of, we were making fun of them.
Yeah.
And that's the only time I performed with the Allman Brothers.
Well, one of my highlights every month is getting to go to the Comp luncheons and spend time with all these wonderful people that we've just heard from. And we sure thank every one of them for taking the time to come down and tell Tim their stories.
And I want to thank you for watching. Like I said, this is a new series on the Comp YouTube channel, and we're going to do a lot more of these, so stay tuned.